Hey, were there moments when Steve got stuck? Oh yeah. But what I found was I wasn't going to give up on it because I really thought I had something special with this idea. So yeah, that's the main thing is like, and I tell every young artist, every young writer, actor, you name it, those moments that like, you get down, you keep putting one foot in front of the other, and it's going to happen for you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm curious, after like sitting with this story for 10 years, if you see yourself like going back into it or adapting it to the screen.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Do I see myself going back into or adapting this for the screen? Both. I, you know, when I made The Perks of Being a Wallflower with Emma, making that movie, that entire project from the book all the way through the film was the greatest artistic experience I ever had. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved having it, my version, in the book, and then I loved sharing it. I loved what she did with Sam. I loved how Ezra took Patrick. All the cast. It was just remarkable to watch them all kind of do their own autobiographies in a way, even if they didn't necessarily live the characters' lives, what they brought to it. So the idea of like creating this thing that was, you know, to get the blueprint in my head on the page and then adapting it would be wonderful. And so that's really fun. And yes, there is, I can't tell you what the sequel to the book is because it will give away what the ending of the book is. But yeah, I have a sequel already, and Emma referred to it earlier, and so I'm very excited to go back in. I really didn't know that I was kind of writing my version of The Lord of the Rings. I had no idea. I thought I was going to write like a fun little 250-page yarn that was mixed heart and horror for my wife to love. And next thing I know, 10 years later, I got a doorstop that I love, and there will be more. Yeah, you were.
I just wanted to follow on from that gentleman's question of when, in those times where you did feel stuck, what allowed you to stay resilient and keep going?
What allowed me to stay resilient and keep going in the moments I was stuck was really, it changed all the time. Sometimes it was my kids or certainly my wife, and also because, you know, I want them to read it someday. And if I don't finish it, no one can read it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's that simple. It's not even like, oh, wow, if I don't finish this book, 5 years are down the drain or anything like that. I take time very seriously. We only have so much of it. I'm thinking of that fact more and more every day. You know, sometimes you write a book or you make a movie because you want to be the first person that reads or sees it. You know, I was like, I'm the first person that got to read Imaginary Friend. It was here, and if you believe as I do that like so much of this is inspired, so much of this is out there, kind of in the ether, and I don't know why The Boy with the Clouds and this title came to me as opposed to somebody else, but I'm really glad the book exists. And so I get to read it first, and then if I feel it's up to snuff, then I get to publish it and then share it with other people. That's when it gets really, really fun, because I genuinely believe in empowering the reader and other things, but it's not so much like I'm this preacher and this is the message. It's more of like, because that to me implies on some level that there's some kind of hierarchy, when it's not. You go, look, if over the years, the last 20 years, people come up to me, as Emma's referred to, and they talk about what Perks has meant to them as a movie or as a book. I was just on tour, and I had 4 people, as you referenced, who literally looked me in the eye and said, yeah, I didn't kill myself because of your, actually, in this case, movie, which is really remarkable. And so let's just take that as the most extreme version of this thing that I believe, which is, if I wrote something many years ago, whether it's Imaginary Friend or Perks or whatever, and I felt this thing, if someone comes to me and says, wow, it's like you really understood how I felt, right? So if I don't believe in the hierarchy, which I don't, what it means is, it's not like writers up here and readers down here. We're here. And the thing is that it's the feeling. Because if someone says, you understand how I felt, I get to say back to them, well, that means that you understand how I felt. And now we have communion. We have connection. It's the connection always. The dance between artist and audience is forever. That's what I'm always chasing. Yes?
Having kids, because I know your kids, so there were moments in Christopher that I saw from your daughter that made me cry. So are there things, was it a different experience writing young people now that you have kids, especially because you were writing a lot of kids in this book?
Yes. Well, I have to say, you know, I'm really glad I made the Perks of Being a Wallflower movie before I had children, because I think I was willing to go a little bit, you know, deal with some things that might be a little tougher now. But in terms of Imaginary Friend, I started writing that book, and the person I related to the most was Christopher. And by the end of the book, the person I related to the most was his mother. It went from Christopher to Kate really quickly. Because yes, it's like, as any parent knows, if your child is struggling in any way with any set of whatever the issue might be, in some cases something fairly harrowing. Like when Theo just took off on us at SeaWorld for like 20 minutes and you couldn't find him. Like, I wouldn't wish that feeling on anybody. And so it all kind of found its way into the DNA of the book, for sure.
No, my question got answered twice.
Wow.
Wow.
Really?
I was gonna ask, did you use your kids as inspiration for some of the parts of the book? And then I was also gonna ask,
Great question.
whatever he asked.
About making it into a movie.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you see yourself in the future making a movie?
You're tapped into the collective unconscious, my friend. You are
just so
really
tapped.
plugged in.
Well done, young man.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, a follow-up.
What was the original ending that Emma so wisely told you not to do?
Oh.
I can't. Well, I can't, and I'll tell you why. It kind of gives a couple things away that I ended up figuring out. No, not sequel. Although, yeah, part of it actually. You know what it was? It was. See, okay. I'll share this. I'm gonna talk because I don't want to give away of Imaginary Friend. So I'll talk about it in terms of perks. When I wrote The Perks of Being a Wallflower, when I first started it way back in college, it was the kid was angry and it was first person. It was very angry and very kind of edgy and blah blah blah. And then on page 72, I'll never forget, I wrote, well, I guess that's one of the perks of being a wallflower. And I spent 72 pages to get 6 words. And I scrapped the 72 pages instantly because I realized that the perks of being a wallflower was what I was always searching for the whole time. That every time I try to be angry or edgy or like, scandalous or whatever I try to be, I'm just not good at it. You know what I mean? Every time I try to go dark, and not like dealing with dark subjects, which I do, but like do it like with an edge. I'm just me, and it doesn't work ever. And so my original ending, I think she will attest, was just like, and then this dark thing happens, and she's like, huh. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I go from the edge of the seat to just off the cliff, like that, instantly. So yeah, that's all I can tell you. Everything else would give stuff away.
So this is going to be my last, I'm really throwing you guys a gem here by asking this question because basically, well, I'm about to appear in Greta Gerwig wrote the script and directed Little Women.
Which I've heard is incredible. Well done.
It's coming out on Christmas Day. Quick film plug. No, but seriously, so a big part of my character Meg's story is figuring out what life path she wants, and specifically which man is the right man. That's her specific story. The other sisters have other stories, but that's Meg's story. And over the last 10 years, you've given me the best dating advice I've ever had from anyone.
Wow.
Consistently. A big portion of our conversations is me just with my hands.
By the way, notice that the overlap of the 10 years is after I got married. So once I got married to Liz and I was like, oh, it's this, then I could give good dating advice. Before that, rubbish. Go ahead.
You gave me. So because I've always felt this, because this is what our dinners look like, right, with Steve, is I'm scribbling on some corner of a napkin somewhere with a pen because I'm like, this is gold. And a lot of it was usually, I love you, kid, but you're kind of messing this bit up. And I'm just going to give it to you straight. And so for everyone else who should get to enjoy and / prosper from your incredible advice,
okay,
just give me the summary of what you've been telling me for the last 10 years.
Okay.
Key advice.
Wow, this is
I'm so sorry.
This is on the spot. Okay.
I know, I'm so sorry, but you're so good at this.
I have to top 3 it. Okay. Number one. Absolutely number 1. Which is, and I'm going to say, I usually, because I usually give you advice about to young women, but this can apply to anybody, which is, don't fit your life to your man, fit your man to your life.
Right, or woman.
Or woman.
In general. Don't try and find someone.
Basically, what happens when you're young is, and I found this more in younger people than older people, is when you're younger, you're like, oh, he's really great looking, or she's great, or whatever, and you start to pretend that you like hiking, and you know what I mean? You start you're right? You start lying all the time because you're really into this person, right? Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I hate hiking. Yeah. Hate it.
I hate it too.
Thank you.
I hate hiking.
I love
Don't we like-
Liz. I tried hiking
Don't
with her
we
once.
like
I was like,
walking?
babe, I love you. I can't. Don't make me do this again. Please, I beg you. So the thing is that what happens is trying new things inspired by somebody else, that's awesome. But like, just don't change because like, oh, I have to make this fit this. That's right. There it is.
It's bad.
Basically,
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's number one.
So just be radically, brutally honest about who you are and what your
Yes,
truths are.
because if your life, if like I love to do this and that and this and this and this and this and that, and you meet a person
Yeah.
that loves to do all the same things or at least adjacent enough,
Right.
and you suddenly realize, oh, I'm not lying, I'm not pretending I'm into something I'm not, I'm really myself. This is the life I'm pursuing. This is what this is what I want artistically,
Right.
and he fits all of that. Well, he's way better than the person that you're twisting yourself into a pretzel to
trying to figure out how to become.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That would be
amazing.
number one.
Okay, so spend as much time as possible trying to figure out who you are and what you like and what your truths are
And what will make you happy.
and what will make you happy, and know those things super well,
Yes.
and then seek someone that likes those things and who
Yes.
you are
And
your truths
understand,
also.
yes, 100%, and understand that you don't have to compromise those things for love. We have this belief sometimes, especially when we're young, oh, well, I can't just have it all. Well, of course you can.
Yeah, you can have your cake and eat it. This is the best thing Steve's been telling me for years. He's like, no, you can have all of that and the rest of it. I'm like, really?
Exactly.
And you're like, yes.
Yeah, you don't have to suffer. You can suffer for your art if you want to, and we do a little bit. Don't suffer for love.
This was genius. This was profoundly
Good. I'm
profound for me.
I'm glad it was helpful.
Suffering and compromise not necessary.
Yes.
You can have it all.
And the other thing, yeah, boom. And then the other thing was, I would say, is that I believe, and this is what really, with Liz, it was the game changer, was like, when you're young, I think people think that love leads to marriage. And yes, love is part of marriage, and a very, very important part. Respect is as important, if not more important than love, in this kind of fundamental way, because there are moments when you've had 3 hours of sleep, if you fundamentally respect each other, it's a great, great bedrock, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that when you're younger, you don't covet it as much, and I think it's critical. I don't have a third. What's a third? Here's a third. And I don't even know if I've ever said this to you. What I found is, and this has now been married 9 years, having known Liz for 12, is it's the quiet as much as the talking. It's like there's so much that we live our lives like that we feel like, when you're young, it's like, oh, and you go out and you do crazy things, you stay out all night, you do all this stuff, and you think that pace of life is always, and it's not. You know what I mean? As you get older, I'm 49 now, I'll be 50 in January, that as you get older, it's like, you start to like, no, it's the stuff that sometimes isn't said is as important as the stuff that is. It's like sometimes, I swear to God, if Liz and I can have like a half an hour to watch Netflix at the end of the night, it's like heaven. I mean, you know what I mean? That's like, it used to be like all night diners and like chain smoking and all this other stuff when I was younger. Now it's like that, just like the peace of life. You know what I mean? Peace, like our peace beats anyone's fight.
That's gorgeous. That's so lovely.
There you go.
And I guess also just to add on that, it's like it's the things that you each do that aren't said.
Yes. Yes, and I will say, like, I wrote the line in The Person We Wallflower, we accept the love we think we deserve. That was my personal, I wrote that line when I was 26, and it took me a long time to actually apply it to my life. So it's not like it happens, oh, I thought of a slogan and, oh, it's all fixed. No, you have to apply it and you have to figure it out and you have to you have to meet the right person.
Right. And I guess you can also just apply that to people, friendships, parents, across every relationship
Yourself.
you have in your life.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah, we accept the love from
we
ourselves that
think
we think we deserve.
Yes.
From our friends, from really everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the best. He really is the best.
So can I share you my surprise?
Yeah.
You don't even know. You don't
What
even
is
know
about
this.
to happen?
Yeah, here we go.
What is
I want to share this with you because this is really cool, and I'll tell you why. Because as I said, I buried the lead a little bit earlier where, I was just out on the road with Imaginary Friend for a month, and everywhere I went, I mean, the people that came up to me, like I've received letters over the years, I've ran into people, of course, but this was concentrated every night, here's the line of people, and here are the book signing, and the people that told me these things. So many people about this movie that we made. So many. It's like that it took 11 years to get to 1 million copies, and now we're at 5. It's because of the movie, and it's because of you. Because as you and I talked about, and you know it's true, basically you going all around Hollywood and saying, make this movie, I want to make this movie, is what got the movie made. So basically, you putting putting all of that behind this project literally saved lives. Because if we don't make it, they don't see it, right? So I wanted to share this with you to say thank you. You know what I mean? So here, let me just get up just for a second. I'm going to take this. There you go.
Goodness.
So,
By the way, I did have to do that. So crazy. So coming out of Harry Potter, all these studio heads were like, well, what do you want to do? And I just kept saying, I don't want to do anything. The only thing I want to do is I want someone to fund the making of this book called The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
yes.
And then finally, yeah.
Yeah, and Eric Feig said, okay.
Eric Feig said, all right.
God bless him. So anyway, you've never heard me say these words. So as you all know, because it was said 20 years ago, I published The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and my publishers said after 20 years, did I want to do like an anniversary edition? And I said yes. The thing was with the anniversary edition, I didn't want to just add a couple of questions to the back at the book guide and slap a sticker on it and call it something new when it's not. What I wanted to do was actually use the 20 years later, and I want to share this with you and say thank you. So I wrote a new letter from Charlie's point of view. So for 20 years, it's ended. The book has ended, and I will believe the same about you. Love always, Charlie. And now, if you turn the page, there's an afterword. Now, I want to say really quick, that changed in the book. Here's the other thing that changed in the book. It used to say, for my family. Now it says, for my family then, for my family now, for Liz Macy and Theo Chebosky always. So it is for my beautiful wife and kids. So here we go. Here's the new letter. Here's the afterword. It says, September 18th, 2012. September 18th is my anniversary. That is a shout out for you, Liz. September 18th, it's also the day I met her, which was amazing. September 18th, 2012, dear friend. I haven't sent you a letter. I haven't sent a letter to you for 20 years. I don't even know if this is still the right place to send it, but I'm going to send it anyway and hope that you find it. It would mean the world to me if you found it, because I want to say thank you. Years ago, there was a very sad kid who needed a whole lot of help, and writing to you is the beginning of that help. Whatever I've learned as an adult, I've never forgotten what it was like to be that kid, what it was like to feel like no one could understand these feelings because I couldn't understand them myself. I've never forgotten feeling sad or crazy or depressed or outside of my own self and own body. And on the great days, I have never forgotten what it was like to go on those drives with those songs, with those beautiful people whom I still call friends. That kid wrote some letters and sent them out into the world to a stranger he had heard about, and then something amazing happened. You wrote back. I know I didn't enclose my real name or address, but somehow my letters were shared. People passed them around. The way Patrick's poem was, Xeroxed and traded, whispered like a secret password. However it happened, it happened. You read my letters, and then some of you wrote back. You sent letters to random addresses. Some of them were forwarded along to me. Maybe some of them weren't. I don't know if I got all of them, but I got enough of your letters to realize something extraordinary. And if you could see the boxes and boxes of letters that I've received for the last 20 years, you would know what I know once and for all, forever and always. You are not alone. Understand, friend, there are millions of us, millions of people who struggle with and overcome all sorts of problems. You would be shocked to know how many people understand exactly what you are going through. That doesn't mean that what you're going through is somehow less meaningful, special, unique. On the contrary, it means that what you're going through is more. It is important. It deserves to be seen, spoken of, and understood. It is 20 years now, 20 years of receiving your letters, and I can't tell you how many times they've saved me that day, or made me cry, or laugh, or believe, or hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I can't tell you what it's like to read a letter from the young woman who was going to kill herself. Read my letters and decided not to. And she's now in her 30s. She's happily married. She has children. The dark time is over for her, just like it will pass for you. So if these words make sense, if you have known these stories yourself, if you have experienced or witnessed abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, if you have struggled with mental illness of any kind or love someone who does, if you are surrounded by those who call what you are different instead of beautiful, if your mind or body has cried out for peace and acknowledgement and understanding, just know you are part of an infinite family, the people who have been through terrible things and survived them. If you're reading these words, you won today. You are here. You are alive. You have options. You can wait out a bad situation, move on, fight back, get out, break up, call, ask her or him out, write that book, write that song, listen to the music, take the drive, take the chance, and live. Whatever strategy you choose, you win. There are so many more of us than there will ever be of them. And we can find each other, and we can help each other, and we can talk to each other, and we can build great lives. Happiness is not this thing for other people. It is for you. It is for me. It is for all of us. We all get an ending. Whether or not it's happy is up to us. That is my long way of saying thank you, dear friend. 20 years ago, a young man wrote some letters. You wrote him back, and a grown man was inspired to write again. So just in case this ends up being my last letter, I want to answer one question, the question I've been asked the most since your letters found their way to me. Whatever happened to Charlie? And I can tell you what happened to Charlie in 3 words. He made it, and so will you. Love always, Charlie.
Thank you so much for reading that.
Thank you.
Thank you for writing it.
You're welcome.
It's like, as you said, it's like getting a letter you didn't know you were going to get from beyond, from another place.
Yeah, and what's so amazing,
the
10 years
past or the future, or
Thank you. 10 years later, you made it too. Look at you. Amazing. Bravo.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Your book is a masterpiece. And
Thank you very
I'm
much.
so proud of you, and thank you for letting me
Thank you
interview
so much. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have such a lovely
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. That's wonderful.